I was like, oh wait, is this going the way I think it is? Hello, welcome to Sad and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Temptation of Charlotte North by Camilla Bruce. This is a book from Del Rey. It's a historical fiction horror coming up May 19th. I received this book from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. A creepy and interesting take on demonic possession, or perhaps ghosts, The Temptation of Charlotte North is a great historical fiction horror. What is it about? Be careful what you wish for, it might come true. In 1910, on a small remote island that boasts more sheep than people, life does not hold a lot of promise for spirited Charlotte North. Her only escape from both this insular community and a family who does not understand her seems to be through marriage, an institution she is not at all eager to join, given the unhappiness of her parents' own union. Plus, eligible suitors are few and far between, which is why Charlotte has fallen hard for one of the few outsiders to join their community in recent years, the handsome and likewise unhappily married new priest. And then an ancient tower, once rumored to have imprisoned a witch, or an unfaithful wife, crumbles and releases something. A restless spirit that knocks inside the walls and sends household objects flying. A spirit that seems to have an affinity for Charlotte herself. Though many on the island are terrified of this new interloper, Charlotte sees in it potential, power, and perhaps even a way to get everything she has most wanted out of life. This is one of those historical fictions that really nails the time period aspect. The writing is a little stiff, actually, but I found that made it seem more authentic, as despite how great some books from the late 1800s, early 1900s are, they tend to be less fluid than books today in terms of the prose. We can thank modernism for that. And I really enjoy older Gothic tales, so that might be why this one really resonated with me. It won't be scary enough to please hardcore horror fans. There's some creepy stuff, but no gore or really any jump scares. In truth, this book is more a Gothic fiction than a horror. In fact, I think that's probably its subgenre. So if you really like Gothic, I think you'll enjoy this. It has a lot of the tropes of the genre, including sexual awakening, an isolated setting, and it focuses on women. The setting is fun, the small island off the coast of somewhere. In the author's bio, it says she's from Norway, so now I'm presuming this is off the coast of Norway. I could have used a few more descriptions of the island itself, actually, but given 90% of the book takes place in two houses, waxing poetic about, the landscape might have been off topic. Charlotte herself is interesting because she changes a lot over the course of the book. She goes from a lovesick, stubborn little girl, pretty much, I mean, she's like 18, but she's kind of immature, to a cunning young woman. Whether her arc is the result of the supernatural element is up for debate, which I thought was an interesting tactic, actually. It kept me on my toes, because a lot of the time with possession stories, kind of halfway through what's going on, and they kind of follow the same trajectory. This book doesn't do that. She actually morphs from the main character to passing that torch to someone else, in the sense that the heroine of the story is not Charlotte. It's so interesting, actually. I really liked that kind of twist. It's kind of a flip of these stories, where really a lot of the time Gothic novels are focused on one woman in particular and kind of her situation. It's often a metaphor for sexual repression or being forced to be subservient, things like that, where this one is interesting in that way. And I actually haven't really thought about kind of what that means. And I think that's really cool. We also get a third perspective here and there, which is useful in guiding the transition and explaining a few things. So while I didn't really particularly like this section in that I didn't really like the character, I thought that I don't think the book would have made as much sense without their perspective, because it really did fill in some gaps. The best character, though, is Ruth, whom I really liked. Her story has a good twist, and I also shipped her and another character very hard. In truth, this love story took over my interest for a lot of the book, and while the setup was a bit obvious, their love ended up feeling earned and satisfying. That was a nice little thing I was not expecting. I was like, oh wait, is this going the way I think it is? The book also features a little bit of digging into what or why the supernatural element exists, which I always adore. I love an explanation. There's even a bit of psychological angle, which is intrinsic to Gothic stories as well. I thought that was really cool, that's not really it doesn't really affect the core of the story, but it was an interesting kind of little aside almost. That was neat. I peeked at a few other reviews, as I sometimes do, and I seem to be in the minority with my rating here. Yet I really liked this book. I thought it was great. There are some things here and there that could have been tightened, but I enjoyed the slow pace, actually. It feels more like a Wilkie Collins book than something modern like Starling House. I guess I just like a good mystery with a different trajectory than we usually get with possession stories, because really those things kind of go in the way of The Exorcist, or they go in the way of it becoming super empowering, where this one kind of sits in the middle. And I think that's actually its strength, is that it doesn't feel like every other possession story out there. And I think that's what I really liked about it. I also, really like kind of older kind of mystery kind of horrors from like the early 1900s. So for me, this really worked. Overall, if you're looking for a strong Gothic story that isn't scary or gory, this one definitely fits the bill. I thought it was really, really good. I really liked it. So thank you so much to the publisher for the e-arc.